welcome to How to Align Passion, Purpose and Profit, make a profit, when starting a business. My name is Jacy Stewart and I'll be your facilitator for today, working in association or in partnership with the British Library and the Business IP Centre, and also the startup in London Libraries, and in particular focus with the Greenwich branch. So as I said, my name is Jacy and I'll be your facilitator, and I'm a business consultant and also a sort of careers coach as well. I've been doing that for several years, and my main thing is what I do is I help people, or help passionpreneurs, I use that term for a reason, passionpreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs start their journey and overcome the obstacle of wanting to start a business by using some products that I've created, which are workbooks, journals and planners, so that they can get on and really start to live their most authentic life through starting up their own business. So it's going to be a little bit of interactive session today. So what I'm going to ask you to do is if you quickly grab a pen and a piece of paper, just so you can jot down some of the things, because as I mentioned, I do have journals, I do have workbooks. I'm going to be using some of those. It's one of my workbooks, which is the Passionpreneur Workbook, to go through some of the exercises for today. So as I mentioned, this is the workbook that I'm going to be working with, and it's a very small little pocket pre-workbook that really just helps you sort of think through some of your ideas. And this is like a precursor before going to see a business advisor. And what it is that when you do see a business advisor or a business mentor or somebody who's going to sort of speak with you about your business, they're going to ask you these questions. These are the questions that they're going to be asking you. So if you're able to go sort of pre-prepared with some of these answers, then it's going to be a much better experience for both of you, because they're going to be able to help guide you and push you exactly where you need to go to be able to start and make that business happen. So for today, what we're going to look at is how to align your passion and your purpose to make a profit when starting a business. And as I mentioned, you're going to be using the Passionpreneur Workbook. And one of the first sections of the workbook is looking at your passion. Now, a lot of people sometimes, don't know what their passion is. And the workbook really just allows you, it's the very first question, what is your passion? And your passion could be anything, so it could be, whatever's important to you, something that you love doing. But, we'll just look at quickly how to identify your passion. It will look at how to discover what's purposeful and meaning to you personally. This is really quite important when you're sort of looking at starting a business, because you're going to have a lot of values and a lot of principles that you hold dear. And that goes into the next topic that we're going to look at, which is drawing attention to those values and those principles and the mission that you have in life. And the reason why that's important is because what's important to you will also be important to others, and it will be able to help you to put your message across about what's, about what it is that you're looking to do and what it is that you're looking to, in a sense, seed into the world, and how others can also, be amongst you and feed into that as well. So the other thing that we'll look at is discover what it takes, to make it happen, to make that business happen, to make that business come into a reality. And lastly, how to show up authentically, unapologetically, and on purpose. And again, it's really just about making sure that you're not compromising who you are. You are who you are, and you're using your values and your belief systems in order to make this business what it is that you want it to be. Because this is something that was given to you. This gift, this idea, this business idea was something that was given to you. And so therefore it's for you to exercise it and for you to make that happen. So just going back to the Passionpreneur Workbook again, it's split into 4 sections. It's the first section is the Passionpreneur. The next section is products and services, marketing, and customers and clients. So under each section, what it's going to do is it's going to ask you 10 different questions, okay? So on the first section, which is the Passionpreneur, it's going to ask you questions about, do you have the skills and the experience and the networks or the leadership and the management qualities. And it really is just making you pause for a moment. You know, do you have the passion for this? Do you have the skills for this? Do you have what it's going to take to actually move this forward? It's going to look at your product. Have you defined and identified and researched what the product is, the cost of the product or the service that it is you're looking to do? Again, just making you stop, pause for a moment and jot down some of those real key important questions that you're going to ask yourself and that others are going to ask of you also. In your marketing, you're going to look at your branding, your social media, what platforms and strategies to use. And the thing is, it's not about to have all of this in place. It's about to have the mindset to know that it needs to be in place in order for your business to be a success. And the same thing about your customers. You know, who are they? What are their pain points? What are the things that they're looking to or the problems that they're looking to solve? And can your products and can your service do that for them? And again, it's just about you jotting down and seeing if your product or your service is able to address some of this. So again, just looking at what the book will entail, as I mentioned, it's got 10 questions. And in the first part of the book, it's really just making you pause and stop for a moment and take a little quick test. And in that test, what you're going to do is you're just going to take a little tick box. You're just going to tick. Do you have the passion? Do you have the experience? Do you have the skills? And you're going to go down each one of the sections and you're going to tick off which ones it is that you have. Now, some people may score 40 out of 40 on this because there's 4 sections, so 10 sections in each. So we could give him 40. And some people struggle. And I'm going to be honest with you, even this is my book. I created this book. And even I didn't have all of the tick boxes completed. So it was fantastic in that way because it made me and allowed me to sort of sit back within my own business and think, okay, I need to work that out. I need to, get that part of my business sort of done. So if you don't score, 40 out of, 40, perfect. That's exactly what the workbook does. And if you do score 40 out of 30, 40 out of 40, perfect again, because the workbook really does, again, allow you, now you've answered that, well, let's see how you're going to look about doing that. And then when you do go to speak to an advisor, you're able to then home in exactly on what it is that you need more support and advice with. So the next table just basically looks at the fact that, if you are a passion, if there are certain things missing from the Passionpreneur section, but your product is great and your marketing is great and your customers are great, there are certain things that you really do need, such as the management, the leadership, the skills, the experience. And if you don't have that, it's quite unlikely, it's quite likely that the product, it may be unsuccessful. The same thing, if you've got the passion, you've got the leadership, you've got the skills, you've got all the things that it's required, but the product isn't up to scratch, it's not of great quality, it's likely it may be unsuccessful. The same thing with the marketing. If you've got the passion, if you've got the product down pat, you know what the customers are, but if you're just not able to market it, if you're not on those social media channels, or you're not pushing it or promoting it the best way that you could, it's going to fall down. It's going to likely to be unsuccessful. So what we're looking at is we're looking at having all four. We're looking at making sure that you are that passionpreneur, that your product and your service and your marketing is on packed, that you've got your customers and your clients, you know who they are. And if we've got all of those four boxes ticked, then it's quite likely that your business is going to be successful. And that's what this pocket Passionpreneur Workbook is all about. It's getting you to the stage where you know that you are very clear and confident within yourself because you've covered most of these things in order to make this business a success. So what we'll do is we'll quickly go through the Passionpreneur Workbook and just the very first section, which is the Passionpreneur. So what is your passion? So this is where you've got your pen and your paper now. So if you just quickly jot down some of these questions here and see how you get on. So the first question is, what is your passion? What do you love to do? What is that one thing that you would love to just get out of bed in the morning and just do? What is that thing that you spend time over, just days thinking about, or get anything, the opportunity to be able to do it? That's what passion is for you. The thing that you would probably do even if you didn't get paid for it. You're that passionate about it. Do you have experience? What experience do you have? Do you have experience in doing it? If not, how can you get the experience in doing so? What skills can you bring? And if you can't bring certain skills to the business, who do you know who can? In terms of the knowledge, what is your knowledge of this product and service? Is it something new that you've just looked at? Or is it something that you've known all about all along? And is it something that you've even got qualifications in doing so? And that goes to the expertise. Do you need qualifications? Are you qualified in order to do this? Even myself as a business advisor, not so much qualifications, although I do have qualifications I have a master's, but not so much qualifications in terms of, in order for me to give business advice, I have to have professional indemnity insurance. So I do have to kind of be, ensure that I'm okay in terms of the advice that I'm giving. Do you have that? So if you're a caterer, for example, would you need a kind of qualification? Would you need that level 2 health and safety certificate? That sort of thing. Leadership. Do you know how to lead? Do you know your leadership style is what I was about to say. And also, do you know how to delegate? It's really important to know how to delegate the tasks. When you're starting a business, you're going to be doing a number and a manner of different things. So from marketing to sales to all different aspects of the business. And sometimes you're going to have to be able to know how to delegate. It's really important to sort of look into that. Management. Do you know your management styles? Now, interestingly, there are, I think, about 7 types of management styles. But in my book, I've highlighted 6 of them. One of the management styles is authoritative. So you're an authoritative manager. Are you a persuasive manager? Maybe you're a consultative manager or a participative manager, a collaborative manager, or a delegative manager. So just those 6 again: authoritative, persuasive, consultative, participative, collaborative, and delegative. And just to say as well, during this sort of presentation, I'm not going to be able to answer some of the questions simply because of the time limit. But please write in the chat box any questions it is that you have, and I'll make sure to be able to get back to you with that. So now just moving on from there and discovering what purposeful and what's meaning to you personally. Now, in another one of my books, I've got a journal. I've got 2 journals. I've got one journal, which is 7 Days of Living on Purpose. And it's a guided journal, and they're both guided journals. And in the guided journals, what they allow you to do is look at your core values and principles, and for 7 days, live those core values and principles. And one of the worksheets that are in that is looking at your requirements, your needs and your wants. Now, this is the way that I define requirements, needs, and wants. Let's take, for example, we're making a cake. I use this in a lot of sort of relationship advice as well. So let's say, for example, you're making a cake. You're making a cake. What is it that you require in order to make a cake? There are certain fundamental ingredients that you require. They are non-negotiable that you need when making a cake. And the same thing goes to when you're pulling it together. When you're mixing the ingredients, you need certain things from that in order to make a cake. Now, if you want it to be a chocolate cake or a raisin cake or I'm not a cake person, but a strawberry cake or fruit cake, whatever cake it is that you want it to be, it's a want. It's not necessarily a requirement that it has to be there, and it's not necessarily a need that it has to be chocolate. That's just something that you want. And obviously, if you want sprinkles and all that sort of stuff and the trimming, then that's something that is desire. Look at your career and sometimes your life as well in exactly the same way. What is it that you require from your career? I'll just give some examples here. For me personally, I really do need a purpose, a sense of purpose and passion. Leadership, I do like that, the ability to be able to lead when I'm working within my career. And a strong and passionate team. When you have a strong and passionate team around you, then you're able to also feed off of that. So these are some of the things that are really, really important to me. But what's important to you? What are your requirements? And the same thing to be said about what are your needs? Now, I've run a business and I've also working as a consultant for other companies. And one of the things that I need is I need a mentor and I need a coach. And I have mentors and I have coaches. And interestingly, even the SEAL program, there are some of the champions at the SEAL program at the startup in libraries. Some of those champions have been absolutely amazing just to be able to run ideas through. So if you do get the chance in your local borough, please go along to one of the local libraries and speak to one of the advisors. They really are fantastic at helping you to sort of think through ideas. But it's really important for you to understand within your career, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're an intrapreneur, what your requirements, needs, wants, and desires are. So drawing attention to your values. Again, coming from my 9 Days on Purpose and 7 Days on Purpose journal, this allows you to sort of sit back and think, what are my values? What are the core things that are most resonate within me? So in terms of values, values are something that you uphold within yourself. So personally, a value that is very personal to me is integrity. I do like integrity. I like the truth also. It's something that I really do value. I value my family as well. I value love. I value, entrepreneurship. There are certain things that we all value and they're always going to be different. And I really do urge you to push through and find out 10 values that you can find that are core and important to you. Also, what is your life's vision? What do you see for your life? What do you see for your life and what do you see for your career? And what is the mission? What is the mission that you want to accomplish? What is the mission that you want to see? And it's just really, again, this is that whole thing which is coming about to making you become more authentic in what it is that it is that you do and what it is that you're going into looking at doing. So again, take that minute just to write down what are your top 10 values. Obviously, you don't have to write the top 10 values now, but what are the top 3 values maybe? What vision do you see for your life? And that vision could be within your career. It could be owning your own company. It could be, setting up your business and employing several people. It could be that you set up a business that you can work anywhere in the world. What is your vision? And the same thing with your life's mission. What's the one thing that you want to do? What is the second thing that you want to do in terms of your life, in terms of your career? What is it that is the thing that's going to drive you to do and be or who you are and live your core value? And lastly, what is it that you want to accomplish? If it is the fact that you want to accomplish in setting up that business, then this is where you start. This is where you need to go. By having this in place, it allows you to move forward and step forward with that. Intention is very, very, very important. And the reason why intention is important because it determines the outcome. So if you intend on doing something, if you intend on doing something in a way that is negative, then believe it or not, the outcome will come back to you in a negative way as well. So it's really important that you are very clear on what your intention is. If your intention is to start a business just to make money, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It just means that there doesn't have to be any emotion to the product or service to a degree that it is that you're trying to get set off the ground. Because if the intention is just to make money, then the other side of things that you're looking to do really aren't that important. But if your intention is to really make a difference, then that means that the business that you do has to have those elements in it. So take a moment again and think, have a clear goal. What is it? What is it that you really want to do? What is the intention about having this business, or starting this business, or working for yourself? Remember, the intention will always be determined by the outcome. So always have good intentions. And this slide here is just really taken from the Passionpreneur Workbook, as you can see. It's got the Passionpreneur sort of section on there. And within the workbook, you can see it's just one page where you just jot down what your goals and what your intentions are. And it's just a time for you to sort of think that through. To make it happen, well, as a follow-on from the Passionpreneur Pocket Workbook, and in speaking to your business advisor, it's about business planning. And another one of the workbooks that I have is the Passionpreneur Purpose and Profit. And what that workbook looks at is it's a kind of a different way of sort of putting together a business plan, really. It's an opportunity to really segment, a little bit similar to the Passionpreneur, but it really is an opportunity to write down all those little nuggets that keep coming to you. So rather than your conventional business plan, where you have got your executive summary and you've got your sales and all that sort of thing, it does have that, but it allows you to do it in more of a workbook type fashion. So it's a way in which to capture, it's where you might see some suppliers. It's a way to capture, to look at more deeply. If you're looking at doing an e-commerce website, for example, it allows you to say, okay, well, this e-commerce website takes this amount, it's this fee, they take this percentage, and this e-commerce takes this. And it allows you really to just jot down all the things that you keep thinking in your mind about your business onto and into one place, one workbook, which allows you to really go through each session. So that's another way to sort of make it happen. And again, it's the same similar thing. And when somebody asks you about your business, you can actually open up the book and show them how you've sort of addressed some of that. So again, I mentioned I've mentioned these two other workbooks that I've created. So the first one is 7 Days on Purpose, and that's a daily journal just for 7 days. That's all it is. So for 7 days, what you'll do is you will, it's split into 4 sections again. So for 7 days, you may just decide to try to manifest something. Now, it's only 7 days, and in terms of being reasonable, whatever it is that you can think of, but what is it that you would want to be able to achieve in either your life or in your career in 7 days? And even if it's just you want to set up and start a business in 7 days, in those 7 days, it gives you the time and the opportunity to start writing down how that can happen. So within those 7 days, you might decide to try to find a mentor, or within those 7 days, you might try to find a business advisor who you can speak the idea about. It really is about 7 days, just looking at, looking at how you might want to go starting up a business. But it also, the 7 days and both the 9 days on purpose as well, makes you write down, as we did before in the earlier exercises, about your core values. So it makes you look at what your core values are, and then for those 7 days, live those core values. The 9 days on purpose is 9 days. So different from the 7 days, which is very sort of brief. The 9 days goes into a little bit more depth. The 9 days goes into different aspects of your career, and it goes into different aspects of your life. It goes into aspects of your life in terms of wanting you to really turn up and be authentic in what it is that you're looking to do, without compromise as well. So it will look at even some of the negative things and some of the negative traits that you have within you. It will give you tools on how to do that. And negative things can be something like negative self-talk that you might have with yourself that says, maybe I can't do this. And knowing that within ourselves, once we put our mind to it, we can accomplish anything and we can do anything. So it's about using that tool and using those pages within the 9 Purpose Journal to overcome some of that negative talk. And then each day you will have a morning session, and it's a journal again. So it's a case that in the morning part of the journal, it's just a time for you to have time for self, time to reflect, time to look at how you are going to show up. And then in the evening, there's a last section, which again allows you to reflect, but it allows you to reflect on what it is that you've done that day based on your principles, your values, and what's important to you, and how authentically you have shown up throughout your session. So as I mentioned, I don't think I did mention actually. So I am a founder of 2 businesses. The first business is For Business Sake, which is a consultancy business, a social impact consultancy business. And in that business, I work with third sector organizations and help them and support them, mainly in the charitable and third sector space. And the second business is the one that I'm speaking to you today about. So interestingly enough, it started from an idea. So this company is called It's All About Wellness. And this is where you can find me. You can find my workbooks. You can find one-to-one advice, which I'm showing you here on this page. But interestingly, everything that you see on this website came from both of those books. In fact, all of the books that I've kind of spoken to you about. It started from the idea, which was the 7 days on purpose. This happened back in May of last year, interestingly enough. And it was May of last year that I had the idea that I wanted to do this journal, which was the 7 days on purpose. And where did I go? Down to my local library, which was in Greenwich. And in Greenwich, they had the Startup in London Libraries workshops. Fantastic workshop. I think it was a 2-day workshop, split up into 2. So we had the first session and then the second session. And in that session and in those sessions, what they're able to do is make you think through some of the ideas. Now, yes, I'm a business advisor, and yes, I help people to set up businesses and to start businesses as well. But the business that I've always done is a consultancy business. I've delivered a service. I've never done a product before. So I understand the aesthetics of setting up a product or of delivering a product, but I've never done one before. So the Startup in London Libraries really did help me to think about some of the copyright issues and the intellectual property issues that I had. It also connected me to a lot of people, and I was able to network. So even though, yes, I have the skills and the qualifications of a business advisor, it was fantastic to be around like-minded people. Remember what I said in the beginning, what I do is I help aspiring entrepreneurs and passionpreneurs to be able to overcome their obstacles in starting a business. And I used the whole aspect of working with the Startup in London Libraries to do just that by producing 2 books, or 4 books, should I say, which is the Passionpreneur Workbook, the Passion Purpose Peace Workbook, and also the journal, which allows you to live purposefully and authentically in your life. So that's been me. My name's Jacy Stewart again. You can catch me on the socials, so on Instagram, It's About Wellness. You can email me on my commercial business at info@forbusinesssake.org. And also It's All About Wellness. And you can also get me on LinkedIn. Just type in Jacy Stewart. So just on the last slide here now, just thank you. And if you want to find out more and support your local library, please do. They are a fantastic, great resource to be able to help you start up in your business. They offer webinars. They often they offer, because of the situation, they've got workshops, they've got so much resources, and online resources such as Cobra, which is able to answer so many questions as long as you've got a library card within your local area. One of the next sessions that they're starting up is a startup. So funny enough, from passion to profit, which is on the 24th of November. So you can register in the link. There's also a little link, I think, in the Q&A section as well for feedback. So if you could fill that feedback in that feedback form, that would be fantastic. And also just for the Greenwich Library, I know that they've got a workshop that's taking place, I believe, next week as well. So please sign up for that. Again, any questions, please try to put them in the Q&A box, and I'll be sure to hopefully get back to you on those. But for now, thank you so much for your time. Hope you found it very useful, and have a good day.